Naruto's feet pounded against the earth, each step carrying him further from Konoha. The village burned behind him, a blackened monument to Nagato's despair. He held a crumpled note in his hand, intended for Uruka. This was not just another mission, it was a personal crusade. Sakura watched from the shadows. Tsunade had sent her to retrieve Naruto, but her heart ached with every step she took. The village of Konoha lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the war's devastation. Naruto stood at its edge, clutching a note to Uruka. His eyes burned with a determination no longer clouded by rage. He was done with destruction. A note clutched in his hand, he walked away from the only home he knew. His path led him through desolate landscapes, under a sky painted by war. Sakura watched from afar, her duty clashing with her heart. Gaara of the desert faced a similar struggle, torn between loyalties. The sun had set over Konoha, casting long shadows over the remnants of what was once a bustling village. In the quiet aftermath of war, Naruto stood at the edge of the forest, holding a note in his hand. Naruto paused to glance back at the broken walls and destroyed buildings. He clutched a piece of paper in his fist. "Uruka-sensei," Naruto whispered to himself, "this is for you." He tucked the note under a rock and turned away. The forest loomed ahead as Naruto began his journey into the unknown. His resolve was strong, but doubts lingered. Sakura stood on the balcony of Tsunade's office. She held a scroll in her hand and looked out over Konoha. "Find Naruto and bring him back," Tsunade had ordered. Sakura frowned, conflicted. In the sand village, Gaara stood atop a tower, watching as Naruto's departure was reported. Naruto walked into a war-torn village, his presence immediately noticed. A group of villagers watched him with suspicion. "Another outsider," muttered an old man. Naruto's resolve hardened. "I came here to bring peace," Naruto said firmly. His words were met with silence. A young girl stepped forward, her eyes filled with hope. "Please help us," she whispered. Naruto knelt down to her level, a soft smile crossing his face. "I will do my best," he promised. The rest of the villagers watched them skeptically. A shadowy figure observed from a rooftop. "I will not give up," Naruto vowed to himself. "Not now." He stood, facing the villagers with determination. But as the sun set once more, an ominous storm cloud rolled over the village. Naruto took a deep breath. Naruto walked through the smoldering ruins of the war-torn village, a place where even the air seemed to carry whispers of distrust. Children cowered in the shadows as he passed by, their eyes wide with fear and suspicion. His heart ached as he saw their fear. He knew what it was like to be shunned and misunderstood. He approached a group of villagers gathered around an elderly woman who was pleading for their safety. The elders eyed him warily. "What do you want here?" one of them demanded. "I want to help," Naruto said simply, "to show that peace is possible." "Peace through your kind," sneered another villager. "You're all the same." Naruto felt a pang of disappointment, but refused to let their words deter him. He decided to prove himself by helping the village heal its wounds. But the village was plagued by a dark force that no one could see or explain. Naruto sensed it in the air. A storm was coming, both literally and figuratively. "Who are you?" a voice asked from the shadows. He turned to face the unknown threat lurking in the darkness. "I'm here to bring peace," Naruto replied, his voice steady but uncertain. The shadowy figure laughed. "We'll see if you can keep your promise," and it disappeared. The village was cloaked in twilight. Naruto stood by the well where he had first encountered the distrustful villagers. Sakura arrived at the well, her eyes fixed on Naruto. They hadn't seen each other in years. "I couldn't let you do this alone," Sakura said softly. Naruto nodded but remained silent. His eyes were distant. "You can't change the world by standing alone," Sakura continued. Naruto turned to her, his expression filled with resolve. I have to try. They walked through the village streets. Villagers stared at them with suspicion. We need to find common ground, Sakura suggested. A sudden explosion rocked the ground. Naruto's eyes widened. Stay here, Naruto ordered Sakura as he rushed towards the sound. He found the shadowy figure that had been watching him. They faced off. You can't stop this with words alone, the figure growled. The figure attacked. Naruto dodged but didn't retaliate. I won't fight you, Naruto said. The figure paused, shock visible. Naruto took the chance to disarm him. Gaara watched from a distance as Naruto tried to calm an agitated group of villagers. His heart pounded with conflicting emotions. Sakura stood beside Gaara, her eyes fixed on Naruto. She felt torn between her duty and a deep-seated belief in his mission. Naruto raised his hands, attempting to ease the tension. The villagers were skeptical, their eyes hard and distrustful. A figure in the shadows observed Naruto's struggle. The unseen watcher seemed to be waiting for something. Gaara considered his options. His duty to Konoha versus his friendship with Naruto. He clenched his fists. Sakura approached Naruto cautiously. The villagers hissed at her presence but did not act. Gaara finally decided. He stepped out of the shadows, his presence silencing the villagers. Naruto and Sakura turned to face Gaara, their expressions a mix of surprise and hope. Gaara spoke in a measured tone, addressing the villagers. His words carried authority and weight. The villagers looked at each other, then back at Gaara. Their expressions softened slightly. Naruto and Sakura exchanged a look, relief mixed with cautious hope. As the villagers began to disperse, Gaara turned to Naruto. He was about to speak when a sudden cry echoed. A villager fell to the ground. A shadowy figure appeared from behind a building, brandishing a weapon. Naruto dashed towards the attacker. He raised his hands to create a protective barrier between them. The attacker lunged. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he prepared to counter without violence. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the village's crumbling buildings. Naruto stood before a gathering of villagers, his voice steady as he pleaded for trust. He recounted the tale of how peaceful solutions could change minds. A few villagers began to nod in agreement. Sakura watched from the shadows, torn by her duty and loyalty. She wondered if Naruto could truly make a difference. Gaara observed the scene with a mix of hope and skepticism. He could see the villagers beginning to believe. A sudden commotion disrupted Naruto's speech. A figure emerged from the crowd, challenging his pacifist stance. Peace is just a dream, the figure shouted, drawing his blade. The villagers gasped. Naruto stood his ground. His determination shone through his eyes as he faced the threat. Sakura stepped forward. She was torn but had to prevent violence. Gaara moved to support Naruto. His decision was clear. He stood by his friend. Please listen, Naruto pleaded. Violence only leads to more violence. The figure sneered. You're weak, the figure lunged. Naruto dodged, but his heart was heavy. The villagers watched in shock. Sakura and Gaara stood ready. There must be another way, Naruto whispered. The figure laughed. No, the figure hissed. This ends now, the blade shone in the fading light. Naruto braced himself as the figure charged. The crowd held their breath. Naruto stood at the village square, the sun casting long shadows as he faced a group of skeptical villagers. He had spent days trying to gain their trust with no violent actions. Sakura stood at a distance, watching Naruto's efforts. Her heart was torn between duty and her bond with him. A villager stepped forward, his face twisted with disdain. You claim to bring peace, but what proof do you have? He challenged. The crowd murmured in agreement. Naruto felt the weight of their doubt but remained calm. If you're truly committed to peace, show us, the man pressed. Naruto clenched his fists but kept his eyes steady. Sakura stepped out of the shadows. "I'll stay for one more mission," she announced, her voice steady. Naruto looked at her with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you, Sakura," he said softly. The challenge set by the villager escalated into a series of tasks to prove Naruto's commitment. It was his moment of truth. The first task involved helping to rebuild a destroyed home. Naruto rolled up his sleeves and started working. Sakura watched Naruto's determination. She felt a tug between her duty and the growing respect for his mission. As the day progressed, more villagers joined in the rebuilding effort. A glimmer of hope began to shine. Naruto's hands worked tirelessly, sweat beading on his brow. He was determined to succeed. But as evening approached, a sudden attack from unseen assailants threatened to undo their progress. Sakura sprang into action, ready to defend Naruto and the villagers. The night was far from over. With each strike, Naruto's resolve grew stronger. He would not back down from his mission. The sun set behind the broken walls of the war-torn village, casting long shadows over cracked earth and shattered homes. Naruto stood in the midst of it all, his heart heavy with resolve. He knew he was on thin ice. "I can't give up," he whispered to himself, his blue eyes burning with determination. But the villagers were restless. The shadowy figure watched from afar. Sakura and Gaara arrived at Naruto's side. They exchanged glances filled with unspoken concern. "We need to make them see," Naruto said, looking at Sakura and Gaara with hope in his eyes. The villagers had set a final task for Naruto. He was to rebuild an ancient temple that symbolized their heritage. "This will be our chance," Naruto said, his voice firm, "to prove that peace is possible." The work began. The sound of chisels and hammers filled the air as Naruto and his allies set to task. But the shadowy figure watched from above. The villagers' patience was wearing thin. "We can't keep going like this," Sakura whispered to Naruto. "The villagers won't accept it." Naruto paused. His resolve wavered for a moment. "What if I can't do this?" he thought. "What if peace is impossible without violence?" A sudden attack shattered the moment. The villagers rose up in anger. Naruto's heart raced. His decision lay before him. Gaara stands alone on the village's highest tower, his eyes scanning the chaotic streets below. The storm clouds gather ominously, mirroring the turmoil within him. The wind howls, as if whispering secrets only he can hear. Gaara's decision hangs in the balance. Naruto's voice echoes in Gaara's mind. His resolve is tested by duty and friendship. He takes a step forward, making his choice. It is time for action. Naruto and Sakura work tirelessly under the temple's crumbling ruins. The villagers' skepticism remains. The shadowy figure watches from the shadows, contemplating Naruto's journey. Gaara descends into the village, his gaze intense and focused. He meets Naruto and Sakura. His decision weighs heavily on his expression. "I will support you," Gaara declares, surprising Naruto and Sakura. The villagers watch with mixed emotions. Some are hopeful, others skeptical. A sudden commotion breaks out as an unseen assailant strikes. Naruto freezes. The choice between peace and violence looms. Gaara moves swiftly to protect the group. His eyes flash with resolve. "I won't let this become another war," Gaara vows. The shadowy figure watches Gaara's decision with a curious gaze. The rain-soaked village lay under a thick blanket of gray. Naruto walked through the mud, his eyes reflecting the storm brewing in his mind. He passed the partially rebuilt temple, a symbol of his efforts. The villagers watched from their rain-drenched shelters. His resolve was wavering. Each step toward the village center felt heavier. Sakura and Gaara met him at the village center. The air crackled with anticipation. Sakura's eyes met Naruto's, filled with concern and determination. Gaara stood resolute beside them. The villagers gathered around, their faces tense. They had one more task for Naruto. A villager stepped forward. "Rebuild this home," he said, pointing to a burnt-out shell. Naruto nodded, his eyes hardening with resolve. This was his last chance. But as he approached the house, unseen assailants attacked from the shadows. Sakura and Gaara intervened swiftly, protecting Naruto with their own skills. The attackers were relentless. Naruto felt his hands clenching into fists. He looked to Sakura and Gaara. Their trust in him was his only anchor. The shadowy figure on the rooftop watched, his eyes narrowing. Naruto's test was far from over. As the attackers withdrew, Naruto was left standing alone, surrounded by destruction. He looked at the charred home and his fists unclenched. The answer would come with the dawn. Naruto stood alone on the ruins of the village, his heart pounding as he faced the shadowy figure who had watched him throughout his journey. The figure stepped into the light. It was Sakura, her eyes filled with a mix of determination and sorrow. "Why do you oppose me?" Naruto demanded, his voice steady but tense. Sakura's voice was low. "I have to bring you back to Konoha, Naruto." "But what about your own heart?" Naruto asked. The villagers began to emerge from the shadows, wary but hopeful. Naruto's resolve strengthened. "I believe in you," Gaara said, appearing beside Sakura. His eyes held a mixture of support and sadness. The tension between Sakura and Naruto was palpable. She hesitated before nodding slightly. "Let's show them what peace looks like," Naruto said with a determined smile. Together, they began to rebuild the village, with Naruto at the forefront, his every action a testament to his belief. As the last of the darkness faded away and the first light touched the village, a sense of hope began to spread. "We can do this," Naruto whispered to himself, looking at the new dawn. Sakura smiled softly as she joined Naruto. "Let's make this the start of something new." "We did it," Gaara said quietly, "and we can keep doing it." The village rebuilt itself brick by brick. Peace was not just a dream but a reality they all built together.